Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got a question here about the self-defeat and making mistakes. And this is definitely a topic that I'm well acquainted with. I've made plenty of mistakes and I've defeated myself. I'm my own worst enemy. What's that lit song? I'm my own worst enemy. Anyway, this question says, how to gain victory if you were defeated by your own self from the inside. Hi John, my name is Omar and I've been following your YouTube for a while, and I want to thank you for all the videos and subjects you talk about. That they really helped me a lot, especially the video on how to regain control of your life. You can find that video here, how to regain control of your life, and the story you mentioned in that video. But my issue is everybody does mistakes, right? And I have a mistake that I've kind of been addicted to. I try so hard to stop doing it, but I get very weak and commit again, and immediately right after going it again and regret it and think that I could have stopped myself before doing it, and this happens every time I do it. So basically I'm unable to defeat myself. It's not important what it is, but it's about how to defeat your desires that are stopping you from moving forward and to have control over yourself. I would really appreciate if you answered my question by video or even in email. Take care. So this is, kind of like, I want to say, I mean, this could apply to addictions. It could apply to any time that, that you lose the battle with yourself when you're trying to do something, but you do the opposite. And it's self-control, right? A lot of people have struggles with self-control. And here's the thing, this is sort of what I've learned about self-control from being someone who has struggled with in various ways in my life, from procrastination to all kinds of things with self-control. How do you maintain that? How do you get the discipline? How do you defeat yourself, essentially? And what I've found is that if I tell you to stop doing something and you try to stop doing something, it's very, very hard, because it's very difficult to go against your nature, right? We have a nature, and anytime we try to go against that nature, we are eventually going to crumble. We're eventually going to crack. We can't fight our nature for a very long time. So what I usually advise, what I found that works for me, is you go with your nature, whatever your nature is at the time. Don't try and fight it. Don't try to fight who you are. Be who you are. You have some weaknesses. Don't try and fight those things. But here's the thing: change your nature. And there's a subtle difference here. You might say, well, that's semantics, John. That doesn't make any sense. Well, here's the thing. When your nature is such that you have a desire to do something that you, quote, don't want to do, that is what your nature is. And when you're fighting against that nature, you're fighting against that desire, and it's a losing proposition. You eventually that desire will win over, and you will do what you're trying not to do, because you're trying to suppress a desire. Suppressing a desire is very, very, very hard, right? But when you change your nature, when the actual nature of who you are changes, then desires change. And when desires change, then you just do what you desire, and then you don't have any problem. And what you don't desire, you don't do, right? When you're not hungry, you don't eat, right? If you desire something, you go and pursue it. So the trick then becomes how to change your nature. And that is not something that you can just will into existence. You can't think about it and say, oh, okay, I'm going to change my nature. It doesn't work that way. What works is a continual path of learning and progress, right? So, I've changed my nature in a lot of ways over time, and how I've done that, a lot of it is through books, through deep thought, meditation, through really, thinking about things, reading, other people that are that I want to be like, and really becoming inspired by them. And the more that you fill your head with who you want to become, the more that you'll become that in the true form, in your nature actually changing. And as that nature changes, as it calls you to a higher purpose, as it calls you to a higher calling, as you find that you're internally changing, and your desires and what you want out of life and your direction and who you are changes, that nature changes, and then those other things go away. But a lot of people try to fight. They're trying to fight the nature that they are right now because they don't like it. And that doesn't work. You have to embrace who you are now, and then and then be willing to grow and change. And if you're not willing to embrace who you are now, and you're constantly fighting against who you are now, you're never going to be able to see reality clearly. And if you can't see reality clearly, you can't change reality. So, you know, kind of a more complicated answer than I intended, but it just comes down to this: you can't fight. You can't fight who you are. You have to accept who you are. But that doesn't mean that you don't change and you don't grow. But be willing to be where you are right now. Don't say, I don't want to be who I am right now or where I am right now. Instead say, this is the fact. This is where I am. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to be what I am. I'm going to do what I do as the nature that I have. But I'm going to surround myself. I'm going to get my head in. I'm going to focus on higher things, and that is going to pull me up. And as my nature changes, my desires will change and my actions will change. Trying to work from the backwards of changing action never works, and you always fall back into it, and then you feel guilty and you feel bad about yourself. And instead, change the nature, change the desires, the actions will follow. So anyway, that's the best way that I can put it, and that's, you know, I'm telling you this from personal experience, from having fucked up plenty of times in life, and that's, you know, I didn't start to see success until I started going down the path that I'm telling you about now. So anyway, if you have a question for me, email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com, and if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Take care.